The Asia Talent Cup in 2021, and so far it's 3 out of 3 for Tayo Furusato at Losail, but the Japanese rider really had to work for it in yesterday's race 1. In a duel that went down to the wire against Daniel Sharil, it was a 0.115 between the two at the line, with the Japanese rider facing his toughest challenge yet this season on the way to win number 3. For Sharil, it might not quite have been the victory, but it was a welcome return to the rostrum after 2 years on the sidelines, with the Malaysian back to fitness following his crash at Sepang in 2018 and a subsequent long road to recovery. In third, it was close as ever again as well, with Gunmie getting another podium here at Losail. Well, hold on to your hats though, because we go again today. Can it be 4 from 4 for Furusato? What will 2021's final race at Losail have in store? Hi there, welcome. It's a beautiful day here at the Losail International Circuit, though it is rather windy once again as racing gets underway for the final time here in 2021 for the Asia Talent Cup, at least, coming up very shortly.
Big spoiler at the start of the ATC race.
Yeah, can you imagine? Well, my name's Matt Dunn, alongside me as ever, Fran Wild. 27 degrees Celsius out on track, a blistering wind though, 23 kilometres an hour, 14 miles an hour. How about that? Fran, big question for today's race is Tayo Furusato 4 from 4, or is it going to be 3 from 4?
Well, we just don't know, do we? Here he is, man of the moment in the Asia Talent Cup, an incredible record so far this season, and obviously at Losail International Circuit. Like I said yesterday, to follow up on our race, round one facts, Jan Anju's won 4 in one season at Sepang, when we had 2 visits to Sepang. But yeah, 3 in a row is quite impressive stuff from Furusato, and 4 in a row even more so. But this is the man that pushed him all the way yesterday, just a 10th in it as he gets back on track. Yeah, Daniel Sharil, a real sort of heartwarming story that was to see him back on an Asia Talent Cup podium. Not quite the win he would have wanted, but I highly doubt he didn't go to bed last night with a smile on his face. He would have been beaming as the lights went out. Nighty-night, Daniel. He would indeed, yeah. He seems so happy behind the podium, and it made me laugh slightly when I was putting the photo of the podium in the press release, because he looks very serious on the box, but then behind the scenes he is absolutely buzzing.
Oh, great.
So yeah, it's really nice to see him back up there. Carter Thompson, who's also on the front row that we saw just a second ago, he's not quite made it on that rostrum yet. Yesterday was so close, got mugged at the line when they went 3 abreast over it, and he just lost out and ended 5th. And yeah, he's been really close so far. He'll be really eager to get in that podium fight.
The little pocket rocket couldn't quite get the drag to the line on that final lap that he had on the several laps previous in that little groupetta. It was Gunmie, as we mentioned, who took the 3rd spot on the grid. Another man who knows a thing or two about getting podiums here at the Losail International Circuit, Kanta Hamada there. He is lining up 5th on the grid today, with yesterday's podium finisher Gunmie alongside him in 6th. Didn't mention Fadila Atatama though, leading the 2nd row of the grid. That was a good performance from him yesterday, a finish at least.
Yeah, definitely. After a bit of a disastrous race 1, I keep saying round 1. After a bit of a disastrous round 1 for the Indonesian, he'll be glad to have those points on the board, although he wasn't quite on the pace that we saw in testing and with that promise that we saw in pre-season. But I'm sure a solid finish will add to his confidence that got a bit dented last weekend, and we'll see what he can do now.
Yeah, that is the number one thing really, to just get finishes under your belt and then rebuild from there. Nothing, well, that was a pretty solid performance from the Indonesian, but let's see how he gets on today. He's definitely got the grid position to crack on with it, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And yesterday, I think it was Australian rookie Tom Drain that he was dueling to the line. Really good performance from him, a step above what we'd seen so far, so that's really good stuff from the, I believe, reigning Blue Crew Oceania Junior Cup. That's the words in the right order, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, he put in a good performance, just ahead of compatriot and old Oceania Junior Cup rival Marianus Nicholas. I'm reading it off the championship standings here, and that confused me. So yeah, those 2 guys seem to be gaining some ground now, the Aussie rookies, settling in pretty well, and it's good stuff.
22 riders then line up for the Asia Talent Cup Race 2 of round 2. What drama awaits? One, well, a little bit of drama already for the Thai rider Lakhan, who will be serving a long lap penalty here today. Why though, Fran?
He will indeed, yeah. It was an incident yesterday, really early on. He collided with, I think it was Yusuf Al-Darwish, and ATC Race Direction gave him a long lap penalty for the race today. It was the first one we'd ever sent out in the MotoGP style as well, because how it's done a little bit has changed for last year, but no one was too naughty in round 1 last year, and then unfortunately COVID-19 put paid to more races. So yeah, he's the unfortunate recipient of that little bit of history.
Well, the engines are being turned on as the clock ticks down closer and closer to race time. One warm-up lap to go around this Losail International Circuit. A 2:12, 2:10 minute quick lap time, so a good 2:30, 2:45 seconds it will be on this relatively, well, the only relatively easy lap they'll be doing around today. And a reminder that these guys, before going racing, they had no morning warm-up session today, did they? So it's blind, as it were, after yesterday.
Yeah, they're first out, and it is a pretty different time of day to yesterday as well. That can always be pretty interesting for the ATC, especially here in Qatar, where they do race at very different times. At other rounds it's usually a similar time, but here with the time schedule and everything alongside MotoGP, it's a bit different. So yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting one, not least of all, wow, that's looking pretty chill there from Daniel Sharil, just having to lean back, get him ready. But yeah, I think it's going to be a really interesting race, not least of all because of what we saw yesterday from the two guys who took that 1-2 and duelled it out. But also there's a lot of progress been made, although it didn't quite seem like it because they weren't fighting for the win by those guys who were just behind for Furusato last week fighting for the podium. They were an awful lot closer yesterday. It seems like the tougher conditions have slightly reined in the Japanese rider, and those just behind have taken a step forward as well, and the combination is going to be a pretty good race, I think.
Well, a couple of other riders you really got to pay attention to in this one, we've not mentioned them much so far, would be Rei Wakamatsu, who finished 4th yesterday in race 1 of round 2. And then also Hakim Danish, who you saw just a moment ago on your screens, qualified down in 11th spot on the grid, but still made it up to that pursuing, almost leading group yesterday. Well, it was actually a leading group for much of the race until the closing stages. Hakim Danish, the double podium finisher from last weekend, ended up in the race yesterday 7th place. He'll be looking for much more today, but coming from a fair distance back on the grid.
Yeah, we can't quite get our words out today, can we? But yeah, yesterday he made very short work of that that run up from P11 on the grid, because last week of course he had a front row start, but then we also saw him have to come back last week after he'd had a bit of a nightmare off the line. So definitely will be able to do that again, just whether he can get it done a little bit better than yesterday this time around, because he did lose out a little bit there. The Malaysian rookie's been really impressive and was on a 100% podium record until yesterday, where he's a little bit behind those 3 abreast over the line to decide 3rd.
Pretty sure he did lead the race at one point though, so he's I was going to say he wasn't quite firing on all cylinders, but it wasn't exactly that much of a disappointment. If to be honest, the 7th place is a disappointment given he's a victim of his own success last weekend, I should say.
Exactly, yeah, and he is a rookie, let's not forget. So yeah, very good stuff from him still. But yeah, it could be another good race today, but I'm very eager to see what Sharil's going to do off the line as well, if we get a similarly kind of even start from the guys on the front row.
Good to see that your screens are not as cloudy and dusty as they were yesterday. Much clearer image that we have now of the Asia Talent Cup race. The wind yesterday was blowing all sorts of things. It was almost like running through a sandstorm in some respects in the qualifying sessions, riders and free practice sessions, I should say, as well. Riders coming in with dust and not quite grit, but particles in their teeth, and even their eyelashes doing their job as well.
Sam Lowe said when he came in after FP3, I think with Moto2, it was like he'd been doing motocross.
Yeah, quite.
But then it got a little bit better towards the end of the day. But yeah, these guys were a little bit earlier than the better conditions that we saw in the evening, so I'm sure they'll be very happy to see it's still windy, but a marked improvement on yesterday.
Well, at least we're not seeing dust billowing off the front and rear wheels of these machines as they go around the track, so conditions conditions can be much better today. If we look at the best lap times from yesterday, though, the fastest race lap was from Tayo Furusato, a 2:13.0. When you compare that to a 2:10 that we saw here last week, and that gives you a slight indication of how dire the conditions were yesterday. On your screens there, to the right of them, Furusato 75 points from 75, and with Gun Mie's podium yesterday, that moved him into second in the championship standings from Hakim Danish. So, as we mentioned, you're not quite firing on all cylinders yesterday, but hardly too much damage done to his championship chances.
Yeah, it's a pretty good mix there behind the full house of Furusato at the top. There's some interesting close battles there, and yeah, some guys had a great day, and then some guys just lost out a little bit. And the result is that we've got quite a few riders within not very many points behind the Japanese rider at the top. Exactly that. Well, the riders line up on the grid ready for this one. 14 laps of Asia Talent Cup racing await here. In the wind, the howling wind of the desert, could be desert storm here in the Asia Talent Cup. Will this man get 4 wins out of 4? Or will they finally trump him here in Qatar? I cannot wait. Could it be this man, Daniel Sherrill, returning to winning ways here in the Asia Talent Cup 2 years on? The man with the red flag moves to the side of the circuit. We wait for the lights to come on, then they'll go off, and ATC will burst into life once again for the final time here in Qatar. It's another great start for Tayo Furusato. Daniel Sherrill moves right across to the left-hand side of the track, straight in his slipstream, and once again, these two make an excellent getaway. That is Fadila Aditama in 3rd place, but for how long? Because we know how good Kanta Hamada is in this turn 1, running a wide line, but all safely through at the moment. Carter Thompson cutting a very tight line there on the inside of it, switching back for turn 2, all safely through at this stage, and it's almost a carbon copy of yesterday. Furusato from Sherrill. Yeah, you can see Sherrill really gunned it to really slot in as soon as possible behind the number 15 in the lead. Furusato, though, pitch perfect from pole once again. And yeah, Aditama getting a good launch today to slot into 3rd, and a little bit less hectic, but right behind him, it's all shuffling on this first lap. Well, turn 4 was where the race ended for a couple of the riders yesterday, but still all safely through at this stage. This is turn 6 where the long lap penalty is. That is where Lacan, who caused that accident at turn 4 yesterday, will have to serve his long lap penalty. Not on this first lap, though. He'll get a notification at some point during the race when he has to take it. Yeah, it's race direction that tells riders when they have to take that long lap, when it's sort of a predetermined penalty. So yeah, this is going to be interesting when they choose. Hopefully a little bit earlier for him so he can get it out of the way and then put some laps in. And just over halfway through the lap now, there's already a bit of daylight between Furusato, Sherrill and the chasing pack, which is not good news for them. However, it was not that the complete story yesterday. The pursuing pack did manage to catch them up, but at the moment it's Aditama there. Can he replicate that pace that we saw in pre-season testing to maybe hunt them down? Yeah, it's a good performance from him so far. I'm sure a little bit on the green there, though, have to be careful of that. But yeah, I'm sure he'll be encouraged by that and have a bit more confidence after his race yesterday. But yeah, like you say, there is that gap forming. Carter Thompson as well, looking pretty racy there in 4th place and itching to get past the number 3, the Indonesian ahead of him, who just tapped his seat, I believe, in the Classic. Lads, follow me. Coming through the final corner then, we actually have a new name up in the leading group. Nicholas has made vast improvements. The Australian, the number 12, looks to be there in the chasing pack, dicing with Wakamatsu, so hopefully he can stay there throughout. He's actually pulling out the slipstream past Aditama. He could be going into 2nd place here across the line. He goes into 3rd place, I should say. That is excellent stuff from him. Yeah, that's really good to see. He did really well in the race simulation in the test and was on the podium. So yeah, really good to see him now getting that under his belt in a race as well, even if it's just fighting for it. At the moment, really solid performance from the number 12 and not too flustered by where he is on track. And you can see there at your bottom of your screens, that long lap penalty then called in for Thanakon Lakan. So he could take that from this lap, or, well, I think he's got a 3-lap gap to try and take it or something like that, hasn't he? But I believe so, 3 or 5. Yeah, so a couple more corners to go for him before he should really be taking that long lap penalty. But as we focus on the number 12 that's made his way into 3rd spot, welcome
to, oh, as his fellow Australian Thompson goes up the inside at turn 6. A very smooth move there. So, and there we go, Lacan taking that long lap penalty, slotting onto the back of the group once again.
Yeah, hopefully with so many riders ahead of him and not losing out too much there, he'll be able to make use of that slipstream down the main straight when there's a nice big hole punched in the air by that group. But at the front then, it's as you were. Please do not adjust your set. It is just a nice replay of some of what we saw yesterday. So far though, the number 21 of Daniel Sharil able to hang on in there with the man of the moment.
2.3 seconds the gap was coming over the line. Carter Thompson behind them with his fellow countryman Nicholas behind him there. A very Greek sounding name for an Australian. That might cause a bit of confusion to some people listening in. But then behind them we have
not the
Aditama.
Cece's family, of course.
No, exactly. One of our esteemed colleagues there. Gunmier in that group as well. And look at that, Hakim Danish back in the fight for the podium once again.
Yeah, it's good to see. And this is a real freight train fight at the moment that these guys are locked into. Not sure who that was, just trying to make moves. Oh, it's getting a little bit spicy there. These guys do need to be careful. Just outside track limits there and all getting a little bit messy. There is no need to be throwing away time at the moment. But yeah, Carter Thompson there staying really ahead of the game. Be interesting to see what that gap looks like when they actually get to turn 1.
Wow, yeah, Carter Thompson managed to make a bit of a gap there on his chasers, but they're coming for him in true Red Arrows formation, I should say.
Yeah, that was quite threatening.
That was excellent stuff as they all pile down into turn 1. Carter Thompson loses out there. You've got Aditama and Mie there leading this chasing pack now as well. And I did see the number 14 of Tetsuya Fujita fighting with Kanta Hamada as well in that chasing pack. So another name added to the list. Another one chasing for the podium in the second Asia Talent Cup race. That's progression, visible progression right there.
It is, and that's exactly what all programs on the road to MotoGP are all about, and especially the Idemitsu Asia Talent Cup. So good performances from those guys, definitely worth mentioning and giving them a good shout out. But also shout out to fastest lap of the race from Tayo Furusato. And there, the way he was backing it in, looks like he's really not taking it steady and probably pushing with the slightly better conditions, but Sharil able to stay with him at the moment.
Yeah, characteristically neat style from Furusato, but he looked a little bit more Daniel Sharil, letting the bike move underneath him, breaking down into turn 6 there. What is this replay about to see now? Is this, this is what happened in the final corner with Carter Thompson getting a bit of daylight between himself, but not for long. Replay coming down the straight then, the slipstream effect in full flow. Crikey, there's some changing lines there as they chase down Carter Thompson. He's about to get swamped.
Yeah, it's a bit of a heartbreaker, isn't it? He just sat there tucked in, absolutely pinned, but they're still coming. So yeah, but the Australian having another good race. He's really, he's really impressive so far this season. May not have quite been on the rostrum yet, but he's been threatening it every single time the lights have gone out. So I'm sure today he'll be thinking about how to maybe switch his tactics up a little bit out of that final corner.
I'm pretty exhausted already, and I just noticed it's still 11 and a half laps to go in this Asia Talent Cup race. It's still then Carter Thompson, sorry, I should say, out front from Aditama, Gunmie, Hamada, then Wakamatsu. So the usual characters in this one. Where is Hakim Danish? There he is, fighting with Fujita. And who was that with him as well?
That was Marianus Nicholas again, the Australian. So yeah, those guys then, there's a little bit of daylight between those two groups, but nothing the front straight shouldn't sort out. We'll have to see what it looks like once we've got into turn 1 again and they all go 75 abreast. But yeah, so these guys at the front then, it's still a sizable gap that they've got, and it's only growing. It's now over 5 seconds the duo at the front have pulled out.
5 seconds in just a couple of laps. If we look at the lap times being put in, 2:11s from both Furusato and Sharil, whereas the chasing pack could only manage mid 2:13. So that is the kind of difference there. And who's that going wide? It's Hakim Danish going incredibly wide at turn 2, slotting back in.
Bit of a cheeky slot back in there as well, yeah.
Oh no, it's Fujita, sorry, just slotted back in front of.
Yeah, so a little bit spicy in this group, but yeah, like we said, it's back to being one long freight train, that fight for third place, as that start-finish straight just concertinaed them back up a little bit. But as you can see on your screens, that time around it was Sharil who was quickest around, but it was by 6 thousandths. So these guys, once again, really evenly matched at this stage of the race.
This looks to be a potentially very, very clever ride from Daniel Sharil, just sitting behind Furusato, not trying to make any rash moves. He knows Furusato, it's quite quite obvious. Everybody knows it in the entire paddock that he's got the pace to run away with this race. But Shiril made the necessary improvements just to cling on to his tail. He ain't going anywhere, and it looks like Furusato is just not able to shake him.
Yeah, it definitely looks like the number 21's there to stay for the moment. And we did see yesterday when he did harry the number 15 a little bit, did actually manage to elicit a couple of mistakes. Nothing too major, but I was quite surprised by that after Furusato had held his nerve so amazingly to take those 2 victories last weekend with such a gap that actually he did get a little bit flustered a couple of times, although yeah, like we said, nothing major, and at the finish line, no, he managed to pull it out again, so...
Look at this view on your screen there. Absolutely peak Asia Talent Cup. How many riders fighting for that 3rd position spot? Wakamatsu in the lead at the moment. I mean, where did he come from? Where was he just a lap ago? Absolutely nowhere potentially. So who else have we got in the fight there as well? The number 18 and number 20. That's Tom Drain and Shiril. Welcome back to the podium fight, Shiril.
Yeah, definitely a little bit of an uncharacteristic day for the Malaysian based on his round 1 performances. But yeah, like you see, we've got Tom Drain in there, Tetsuya Fujita, Nicholas, like we've mentioned already, Masaya Hongo as well, who had his one of his races last weekend hampered by a jump start. So yeah, it's a good little group here. I think it's 10 riders long. So some classic ATC action.
And then a further 3 seconds back to Bwapa there as well, the number 22 in 14th position. So this is a real heck of a race we've got on, and it's now 8 seconds that these two now have in hand. But still, Shiril just showing Furusato a wheel. So this is becoming a really high-speed game of chess, a few mind games being played by just letting him know, I'm still here, pal.
Yeah, and I love races like this. I absolutely love it. I know, yeah, there's plenty of thrills in the freight train battles that we see in the ATC and Moto3, but I do love it when we get a proper duel to the line. So it looks like we're going to get another one today. And Shiril, yeah, looking like he's really trying to make a point there and make Furusato more than aware that he's still very much with him. So it's Carter Thompson then, though, at the front of this group again, and they are still really giving it some here, aren't they?
Yeah, they really are. Flowing through turn 8 there into turn 9, this beautiful section of track. I can't imagine what it must feel like on some of these lightweight, ultra agile Asia Talent Cup machines, and so many lines being taken by plenty of these different riders. It's such a wide track that we have here as well. That is part of the reason why you see such a variety in lines from these riders.
Yeah, it's just a classic ATC freight train, isn't it? But these guys then, I don't know, what do you think? I think Shiril looks like he's looking to make a move soon.
No,
do you think he's
it'd
just trying to...
It'd be a bit hasty, that, I reckon.
I think it might, but I think... I don't know, it's a great battle though, isn't it? We've got our Laguna Seca 2008 ATC version here. But I don't know, he does look very, very keen though to more than just show a wheel. But we'll have to see, because look how close he is there. Is he going to pull out, and then is he going to go for it into turn 1, or is he just going to say, hello, I'm here, and then sit back in behind him?
Yeah, well, it's characteristic. He's not been that much stronger than Furusato on the brakes into turn 1. Furusato's definitely got the measure of him in there. You can see the visible gap he opens up, a whole bike length almost, breaking down into turn 1. So fortunately that's not actually the last corner. But what about these guys? The variety of lines and braking markers in there. Kanta Hamada just doesn't care. He's going to swipe the nose off anyone's face as he turns it into turn 1, not running that slightly higher, wider line than we're used to seeing. Who's that? Up the inside there, up the inside of Danish, going down towards into turn 3, running it wide out of turn 2 onto the curves. Oh, look at that, Fran, we have a move for the lead. Shiril just momentarily made it through on Furusato. So looks like you were right, he was trying to make a move sooner rather than later. But I've got to say, do you really want to make a move? Just sit behind him, just learn what you can, because this is the guy that has demolished everybody for 3 races in a row, and the guy's been sat on the sidelines for 2 years. This is such a learning opportunity here. But then again, these guys are young. Now he's tasting that podium. He wants a taste of victory once again. Yeah,
you never know. I was just purely going off body language. I don't necessarily think it's the best time. I would tend to agree with you.
Here's a
replay then, down at turn 4. So he left it a little bit late there and then just headed wide enough to let Furusato straight back through. But yeah, it'd be interesting now whether Furusato is going to take that as a signal to push to the absolute limit, or whether we're going to see Shiril just, yeah, do it again and again and again until he makes that move stick.
No personal best or fastest overall lap times last time around. However, these guys were still in the 2:11s, just with a 2:11.9. The chasing riders still mid 2:13. So the pace here is red hot at the front. The others just can't live with it, unfortunately.
That little peak in your voice there, I was like, what's happened? Because I was just looking at the timing screen. But yeah, it's impressive from these guys. Once again, class off the field in terms of lap time. But like we've already said, it's not all about winning and speed in the ATC. It's also about progress. And there's plenty of guys in the second group who are showing that they've definitely made a little bit of that. Is this going to be it then? Is he going to go for the move into turn 1 this time around, or is Furasata going to have him on the brakes? I'm really not sure. It's hard to call from this angle until they tip in. So yeah, the number 15 then able to just stay ahead.
Furasata really is a master on the brakes there into turn 1. Nobody has the measure of him there whatsoever. Sherrill has nothing for him at that stage, but he does have enough for him in the slipstream over the line if he gets a good enough run out of turn 16, which if you think about it, that's where it really matters. What can he do here a lap later into turn 4 where he made a move previously? He's up the inside again, but no, he just takes a peek this time.
Yeah, it almost looks like he's getting held up at certain points on the track, but then at others it looks like he's struggling a little bit to manage to go with Furasato. So it's making a really nice, evenly matched duel here for the moment.
Oh, as he gets very out of shape into turn 6. You're used to seeing that, but not quite that much. He's got to be careful because he can't let him make that break, otherwise it's going to be a very lonely ride to another second place, and we know how much he wants that win. The whole of Malaysia wants Daniel Sherrill to get this win, as he has another moment there coming out of turn 7. Who's that down in the gravel? Their butt patch has been scraped off. That's Youssef Al-Darwish, the local rider. It's not been a good outing couple of weeks for him.
Yeah, after that bad luck yesterday, getting wiped out early on, that's a bit of a heartbreaker for him on home turf as well. But rider up and seemingly pretty okay, which is the main thing. But yeah, so sad end to his second home round.
A little more daylight now between Furasato and Daniel Sherrill. Nearly 0.3 of a second, but will that be enough for Furasato to break the slipstream on the home straight? I would say not. It looks like Sherrill is very, very quick through these triple right-handers and on towards turn 15. This is the chasing pack. What's been happening here? You've got Danish, the number 13, up there into third place, chasing another podium, a third one here at the Losail International Circuit, but he's got Hamada for company, and there's Carter Thompson, the pocket rocket. We know what he can do in the slipstream down the front straight.
Yeah, this is going to be another interesting one, isn't it? It's not quite the same locked together freight train as it was, but yeah, Danish and Hamada then with a little bit of fresh air at the front of that train. But let's see then. So Sherrill then using that slipstream to get right back on the back of Furasato. Panic over for now. He's cut down 0.2 in the last bit of that lap. So good news for those of us wanting to see this go all the way to the wire.
Halfway through this final Asia Talent Cup race at the Losail International Circuit for 2021. Hamada's got the jump of everybody into turn 1. Carter Thompson could not use a slipstream effect to its full potential that time around. He's got Gunmie there just nearly touching his back wheel as well. Aditama just ahead of him there. This is a great ride from him. And also the number 12 there of Marianos Nicholas, the fellow Aussie there, just clinging on third in this particular group. Going up the inside now for Kim Danish. Is he into turn 4? Yes, he is.
I love those onboards when you just see, and he's going for Hamada as well. That's quick progress from the Australian. Really good stuff, and yeah, great shot from that onboard as he just pips past and appears in the shot. But I wouldn't be surprised if Hamada answering back then pretty quickly. He'll probably know, like, this is a rookie. I'm not really sure I want to get lost in this group fight. I had a little bit of an advantage there, and I want to be the one more in charge of the pace in this second group. But yeah, Marianos Nicholas, really impressive here, and looking like Hamada's almost in his way.
Shout out for Indonesia as well, and Fadila Aditama well in the fight for this podium this time around. This is what you like to see. Get behind your man, Indonesia, because he's there in this fight for third place.
YouTube comments just went off.
Yeah, they just absolutely exploded. Excellent stuff. And what about the Aussies as well? Carter Thompson and Nicholas that you've got to cheer for in this leading group. What has happened, though, to Tom Drain? Is he at the back there? I think he is. The number 18 at the back of this group. In 11th place at the moment.
So there's now a little bit more of a gap back to Fujita and Sherrill. So, but it's Tom Drain, just on the back of this group. So we'll have to see how it shuffles again. Oh, these onboards are great.
Wow, who was that? That was kind of Thompson up the inside
yeah.
at turn 15 there. Got to be careful, these track limits on the edge of the track, not least because you can get penalised, but because it's quite a big rumble strip there, and with these small bikes, well, they haven't quite got motocross suspension on them, so I don't know how well they'd be able to cope with them. Onto the start and finish straight again. What about the slipstream this time around? How many abreast are we going to get into turn 1? Take your bets.
I think 10.
All 10 of them.
Yeah, it's going to be good, this one, I think. We know.
Oh, getting
elbows.
the very, very elbow paint swapping between Thompson and that's Hakim Danish, the 13th there. Kunmie up the inside. Is he going to make it? Hamada says, no, I'm going to chop your nose off round the outside, as I love to do. That's just my regular line.
Yeah, so well held from Carter Thompson there after those brief handbags at dawn. But this is getting spicy again, isn't it? So Hamada then not able to keep that advantage, although doing a nice job, as always, at turn 1 to not lose too much ground. But yeah, I think on the final lap, this is going to be quite some battle.
Yeah, no one really wants to give away their position either. The lines they were running into turn 4 there were distinctly less sweeping and cutting a more inside line. So, well, look at this. The number 12 then, Nicholas, back into 3rd place. And oh my goodness, not that many riders should really fit onto that singular line there around turn 6. But they're all together once again. Wakamatsu's been shuffled back to near the rear of that group. Crikey.
Yeah, it's Nicholas though a little bit wide there, so yeah, just has to keep his head now, the Australian rookie, keep it nice and calm with his compatriot right behind him. But
I hope we're actually going to get some views of what's happening with the leaders very soon, because if you check the timing tower to the left of your screens, Furisato's now got nearly a half a second gap over Sharil, but it's come down once again by a quarter of a second, so maybe it was just a mere mistake from Sharil. But that's a few mistakes we've seen now. Is the pressure getting to him? That's the question.
Yeah, this is the question, isn't it? It's a really interesting chess game there at the front between those two. But yeah, you pointed at that gap. It's like, oh no, is it over? But he's managed to close down those 2 tenths again. So yeah, we'll have to see what that looks like in a couple more sectors, see if it was just a moment. But this battle for 3rd is just a stunner, isn't it? Look at Danish just sailing past there.
Yeah, a cracking line out of turn 15, a real excellent run. But what about the final corner then? It's just such a variety. How will it affect everyone's respective runs to the start and finish straight? How about this then? So 0.06 of a second split the times between Furusato and Sharil last time around. We're now into the 2:12 bracket, so maybe a bit of tyre wear coming on, a bit of, well, fatigue perhaps coming in, or perhaps they're just seeing their pit pause, seeing the gap is now 16 seconds back to 3rd place. Just thought, oh, we don't need to be doing this.
Would you like to stop for a cup of tea?
Yeah, quite.
Yeah, so yeah, their lap times were incredibly similar again. I think it's 600ths last time around. So panic over. Looks like we're going to go all the way to the wire. These guys, though, they just can't stop getting in each other's way, can they? It's really a lot more aggressive than we saw yesterday at times, and a lot earlier in the race as well. You can see there Thompson just muscling his way through.
Trying to shove Hamada wide, but he is really stubborn when riders try and push him out wide. He just hangs it on a slightly wider line, keeping the corner speed, or perhaps even more. He really doesn't want to let go of any of these positions, does he? What a fighter.
Not at all, yeah. He's the guy with the yellow helmet just in the front of that shot there. You can see, just like, okay then, I'll just lean further and go wider and just keep it pinned.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's really nice riding style Hamada's got, quite distinctive, and it helps, of course, with that yellow helmet, just as Carter Thompson with the bright orange as well. It's nice for us.
Yeah, and even if Carter Thompson's helmet's very similar to Furusato's, they are usually, unfortunately for Carter Thompson, at different points of the circuit, so it's quite easily distinguishable.
So far at Losail,
at the moment.
Yeah, it's been a commentator's dream in that sense. But Sharil then really locked back onto the rear tyre of Tayo Furusato, and yeah, he's looking pretty aggressive again. Looks like he's harrying the Japanese rider a little bit. Probably just had a few scrappy moments, but it seems like he does likely have the pace then to go all the way with the number 15.
And every time he comes down the start and finish straight, you feel like it's a bit of a dummy run, a practice run, the rehearsal for what he intends to do over the line. But this time around, just looks as though he's sitting on in, checking about Furusato's line out the final corner. He didn't really make much of an effort there to go up the inside, and But I'd be surprised if he does make any effort anymore to try and overtake him into turn 1, because Furasato is extremely strong there.
Yeah, definitely. I think that if Sharil was gonna, he made a move sort of mid-race. I think if he did have
shove there.
yeah. These guys elbows out already, but yeah, Sharil did have a bit of a look earlier on mid-race, and at that point if he makes it stick and he does have a little bit more in hand, then it makes sense there. But now with 4 laps to go, or just less than 4 laps to go, it makes sense to wait and then try and duel it out on the final lap, I think, unlike these guys of course who have gone for all-out war.
Yeah, Hakim Danish there going extremely wide on the exit of turn 2, couldn't quite park it on the line he wanted to get ahead of Nicholas, but who is in turn looking up the inside again of Kanta Hamada, who says, no, if your front wheel's there, I'm still going in front of you, pal. I don't care, I'm off. And as you can see, that characteristically very classic, almost Japanese 250 rider style riding method that he has there. Carter Thompson just behind them now, back in the battle for this primary 3rd position. Is Sharil back on the rear of this group? No, it's with him and number 14, Tetsuya Fujita, off the back of this group now. So they're out of the podium fight.
Yeah, they are. They've been dropped by this group, but hey, it's getting spicy in here, isn't it? It's hard to read those numbers so quickly, but yeah, there's a few little different pockets of riders here, but as we've seen so many times, as soon as we're on the start-finish straight again, I'm sure it'll be one gaggle heading into turn 1. But yeah, at the moment though, definitely advantage Hamada and Thompson with a tiny bit of daylight behind them there, look. Now if the Australian's got his thinking cap on, he'll try and sit in behind the number 8 and not slow each other down.
Yeah, they've got a great example about 17.5 seconds up the road ahead of how working together can really pay its dues in this Asia Talent Cup race. What about Thompson into turn 15? No, he's not going to take him there, and now Gun Mie, with a bit of daylight ahead of him, has managed to catch onto the back of them. It was a cracking move from him down into turn 10 there, carrying so much corner speed, not sacrificing his line up the inside of Nicholas, but I guess that's to be expected, a more experienced rider on a rookie.
Yeah, it's yeah, they proved me wrong very quickly there, didn't they? Gunmie immediately closing that duo down again, but I don't know what to say about these guys. It's literally replay of race 1, but in the best way. Absolutely loving it. Once again, there's a fantastic photo as well that our photographer Mauro got yesterday of Furasato just looking over his shoulder, and Sharil just a couple of bike lengths behind. Really cool stuff. But yeah, I think we've seen now over the line Sharil not pulling out too much. He doesn't seem to want to make that move or try to make that move into turn 1, although like we've said, Furasato is very, very strong down there. But he's not been ahead over the line. So if he is doing a dry run, he now knows that likely sitting behind him is not quite going to get him what he wants.
Yeah, this is the debate, isn't it? With 3 laps to go, 2.5 now or so, does he want to do a proper practice run and actually try and overtake him by the time the finish line comes around? Or does he want to keep his cards close to his chest for that final assault? Furasato knows exactly what it's like, unfortunately. Oh, who's that going extremely wide? Is that Adatama? I hope not, because that would be a real shame. It is the number 3, the Indonesian rider, completely loses touch with this group now down at turn 6. That was a huge mistake. He'll be absolutely gutted with that, and we are for him as well.
Yeah, that's disappointing there, with not much time to try and make that back up either. But luckily he did hold it though. It looks a bit dusty out there on the runoff, so good work from him. And then we can see we've got an Australian duel at the front of this group. Marianas Nicholas really still in there, still stuck into the podium fight, and it's impressive stuff from him.
Yeah, I think that's probably rider of the day for me. This is extremely impressive from Nicholas to make that level of progression from one weekend to the next, one race to the next even, just sort of putting everything he's learned after the last several weeks now that they've been in Qatar all into one for a podium fight. Extremely impressive from the Aussie, although probably perhaps most impressive of all in terms of the season as a whole, that number 21 Daniel Sharil. What a story this is.
Yeah, it really is a great story, and I don't know, how's it going to end today? It's really hard to call here, because you can see he doesn't seem really too keen to make that move, does he? He's just content to sit in behind him, use that slipstream to make sure he's able to tag onto the back of the number 15. But yeah, at some sections it's going up by a tenth here and there, and then Sharil just reels him straight back in.
Yeah, I do wonder whether he should perhaps just give it a little go, Daniel Sharil, down into this, coming on to the final lap this time around, because for Risato, he's still got fairly fresh memories of what it's like to be overtaken at the line. As who was that going up the inside? Outside, I should say. I think that was Wakamatsu trying to take a second spot. No, it's not. It was Nicholas. So if that was him going around the outside of Carter Thompson, that's a pretty extraordinary, that's a Hamada level line into turn one, that was.
I was going to ask you then, which move exactly are you referring to? Because there's about
plenty.
5 happening on the screen at the same time.
The one mainly for third place as they go into turn 4 and Thompson takes it back.
Yeah, so these guys having a great all-Australian battle. And Aditama then does look like he's gathered himself together a little bit, but I think that gap might be a little bit too much given how many kilometres we now don't have left in this race. Oh, it's that Nicholas having a bit of a moment there as well.
Could be. He's now behind Gunmie, Wakamatsu behind him as well, then Hamada and Danish still well within this fight. There's a few bike lengths between them and Carter Thompson up ahead, but that will not be enough for the slipstream. They'll be back together at the latest by turn 1 next time around, which will be the final time around in this last race we have at the Losail International Circuit. And it looks like once again, though, we will be having a duel to the line. Japan versus Malaysia for Risato versus Sharil. What a story this is in general. Just absolutely excellent stuff from the Asia Talent Cup, as we come to expect. We'll never get desensitized to this level of action.
The thing is one of those things, isn't it, where it's like I love the action that we've seen in today's race. Absolutely great. Some elbows out even, fantastic racing, great moves, but I've also got those real pre-last lap nerves of, come on everyone, can we calm down?
So this is it then, no rehearsals as yet from Daniel Sharil. Does that beg the question whether he has the speed and the acceleration to take Risato at the line? But this time around he does pull out from the slipstream. He tries to take Risato up the inside of turn 1, but he cannot do it that time around. Risato still just so strong into turn 1. What about turn 2? Does he want to force him into a mistake? These are the kind of high-speed chess moves that these riders contemplate every single millisecond around this 5.2 kilometre course.
Exactly. So earlier we saw him go for a move at turn 4. Don't know if he's close enough.
No, and there's a rider down there who's going a bit slow. Perhaps they crashed out and rejoined.
So as you were then at the moment for these guys, but Sharil definitely looking like he's looking for a place to attack rather than waiting for that drag out the final corner.
Both cleanly through turn 6. That's where the long lap penalty lane is, as you can see. So just a bit more than half a lap to go here. This is a real fast and flowing section. If anything, we've seen that Sharil can be quite strong in these fast and flowing sections. This is turn 7. Flick it left into turn 8. Beautiful little cambery bit there as well. This is the battle behind for third place. We're going to have to pay attention to this, but perhaps not right now, as that could be a bit chaotic going into turn 10. Aditama's got onto the back of the group once again, and Sharil has made a move for the lead at turn 10. He runs it wide though, like he did yesterday. How will that mess up his run through turn 11? It doesn't. He stays ahead, but only just. It's the slipstream for Risato going into turn 12, 13 and 14.
Oh, that was nice stuff from Daniel Sharil today. Managed to keep that door closed and slammed it there as well. Can the Malaysian hold on?
Oh, don't go on those track limits, otherwise
very
race
close.
direction could get involved, and it's a front end tuck as well. It's ruining his run towards turn 15.
And Risato then has struck back. This is it then. It is going to come down to that drag to the line likely, even though that's not obviously what the number 21 had in mind.
He's going to go up the inside, or is he not? I think he wants to, but Risato carrying so much corner speed. What about the drive to the line then? It's all about the slipstream once again. Come on, Daniel. You can get that win. Malaysia's behind you. He's pulling out for the slipstream. Will it be enough? I don't know. It's so close across the line again. It's 4 from 4 for Risato. What a win, and it is heartbreak a little bit now for Sharil. And what about third spot? Oh, it's Aditama onto the back of Wakamatsu. He's riding the back of another motorcycle that isn't his own. And could it be Danish? There are 2 Malaysians now on the podium here in race 2. Or will they? Because Carter Thompson's coming. Is he going to get it though? No, not this time. Wow, what a finish that was to the Asia Talent Cup.
That really was. I'm on my feet about to head down to the podium, but could not look away from that. those guys in that group battle, some real elbows out there, but Hakim Danish, really impressive. He'd not been the key presence at the front of that group, but got it done back on the podium.
Yeah, how about that then? Well, these two still kind of cruising around, no crowd at the side of these tracks, so it's not like there's many people to wave to. A few marshals trying to stay out the sun underneath their shelters there, but for Furusato, wow, he really is ice cool under pressure, and it's pretty safe to say that win is coming for Daniel Sharil. And not quite yet though, but he can safely say he is well and truly back in action. This is where it went a little bit wrong though, on the exit of turn 14, cutting back into turn 15. Oh, and he just couldn't quite get the run then. What are we looking at there? I wonder if we were looking at track limits. I got a bit concerned at that point, but crikey, and oh my goodness, couldn't really mention it at the time with all the action, but heartbreak again for Aditama. Oh. Well, he'll be back. He will be back. He'll be there. Oh, and it's Wakamatsu as well. So, well, blimey, of course. Those two took each other out in race 1 as well last weekend. So those two have history, and, well, they're not quite so Romeo and Juliet story of Rei Wakamatsu and Fadila Aditama continues. Number 2 versus number 3. I don't think they'll be on any season's greetings cards for each other this year. And, oh, just the line got cut off, and they just got caught. Thankfully, both of them seem okay. Just very, very wounded egos. Although, I gotta say, I don't feel that Aditama had many places to go. He didn't really have many, I think that was an unfortunate sort of racing incident of Wakamatsu trying to chop his nose off and getting caught, unfortunately. But wow, what a finish. No shortage of excitement for a Sunday afternoon here. And there's 3 races to go in the Grand Prix classes as well. How about that? Daniel Sharil gets the high fives from the Petronas squad. There's Razlan Razali, who no doubt will be over the moon for the lad. How could you not be after the story he's been through already? The type of stories in racing that someone, somewhere, someday in the future will likely write a book on, or a film, or a Netflix doc, or an Amazon doc, whatever other streaming platforms there are. And how about that as well? Malaysia Motorsport looking in fine shape for the future. Hakim Danish, another podium here in Qatar, coming out on top of that final corner. Brawl is the word for it, I would say. Goodness me, 4 races in Qatar. I'm exhausted, so no idea how these lads must feel. They're substantially fitter than me, obviously, but still, they must be a little bit tired at least. Alberto Puig then also in Parc Fermé along with Hiroshi Oyama, congratulating the riders. Hakim Danish, Daniel Sharil, Tayo Furusato. You definitely want to remember those names for the future. You don't even have to remember them for the future. They're here, they're now, they're on the ATC. You can watch it on Facebook, on YouTube, or a local broadcaster. I don't have all the details, but one of those options would be great. And you can watch them again and again and again on demand as well. You might want to put the commentary on mute for myself though, however. And you can hear the wind. Thankfully, the wind didn't play too much of a part than it did yesterday. It's decidedly less dust flying around and on the circuit as well. You could tell that from the lap times these guys were posting. And look at that, even by the end, that final lap, 2 minutes 12.9 and 0.8 from Daniel Sharil. The riders behind, 2:15s. The pace was just on another level for from those two leaders. Excellent, excellent stuff. Riders going to be heading to the podium for podium ceremonies. I wonder who the dignitary is today. Yesterday we had Ayagura, ATC alumni and Moto2 rider. Here are then the final results from that race. 0.073 separated them this time around, Daniel Sharil and Tayo Furusato. 4 from 4 for the Japanese rider. 100 points in the championship. Oh, hang on. Kanta Hamada's been put in third there. Well, I've not seen any announcement from there, but blimey. It says on the standing on the last lap on my timing screens that Hakim Danish has got it. So, I don't know whether someone's made a mistake there. But we'll see on the podium if they suddenly change. I hope not, because that would be a crying shame. But let's see. Let's wait. It'll be the first rider out, the third place. Who is it? Bring on the wall! Or not. Let's have a look at the... well, I'm not really sure what to make of the championship standings now. Because I don't know if they've been impacted from the final results. But one thing's for sure. Tayo Furusato is in the lead with 100 points. Daniel Sherill's on the podium, I heard that. So who's in third? I think it is Hakim Danish. But no mistake in the winner though, Tayo Furusato. Once again, excellent stuff. Yes, it is Hakim Danish. So disregard some of those results. Don't know what happened there, but these things happen. It's live TV. Third place trophy then to Hakim Danish. Yep, definitely him, 100% him. He will need more space in his luggage to get home with a few extra trophies. Wrap them in a towel or something from the hotel so they don't break. Daniel Sherrill over the moon once again, understandably so.
Congratulations, 4 out of 4. Tayo Furusato.
4 from 4 then, Tayo Furusato. How about that? Crikey. Right then, national anthem time. Let's hope it comes on today. Enjoy. Congratulations to Tayo Furusato, winner here in the Asia Talent Cup. The next race though, crikey, it's a long wait. October 2nd, Motegi in Japan. I hope they've got a PlayStation to keep himself occupied in between times. Of course, but I'm sure they'll be watching these races back as much as possible. Keep the old memories alive. I guess we'll be getting some look at the highlights very shortly. Telling them, lads, smile for the cameras, smile. Let's get a look at these highlights then. What a race that was to finish off our time here in Losail, because wow, oh wow, the action began and it didn't stop. This was the Asia Talent Cup in 2021, getting us underway with 4 races. Tayo Furusato took off, got the whole shot into turn 1, carried Daniel Sherrill with him. The others, that was the last they saw of them. Thompson gave it what for, along with Nicholas, his fellow compatriot as well, all race long. Aditama was there with Gun Mie as well. Also Ray Wakamatsu and Hakim Danish, who would eventually come out on top in 3rd place as well. This was the run to the finish line. One of the many occasions where we saw Furusato was just so strong on the brakes in turn 1. But in turn 4, he had a bit of a chink in the armour, which Daniel Sherrill decided to make good use of, but this was a mistake there, backing it in a little too much into turn either 6 or 10 that was back there. My memory evades me now. A few weeks in the desert. But here we are then. This was the final lap with Daniel Sherrill in front of Tayo Furusato, but a little mistake coming towards turn 15 allowed the Japanese rider to come back at him, and a great run to the line meant Furusato took 4 from 4 here in Losail. But the drama didn't end there. A huge accident between Ray Wakamatsu and Aditama there, just like we saw in race 1, round 1. And it was Hakim Danish taking his final podium spot. How about that? Tayo Furusato, 4 from 4. We'll see you soon.